Welcome back to the ticket setup series. In today's session, we're going to focus in on setting up the knowledge base multi-response experience. Now, this is going to have a couple of parts to it. The first part is we're going to experience the end result of an end user interacting with our knowledge base multi-response experience. That's going to help frame the second part of this setup video, which is going to be how we set up and configure that multi-response experience. Now, on the screen here, we're going to have a couple of personas that are going to help us work through this experience. On the left-hand side here, you have Adele. She's my end user. She's going to be interacting with Tikit Virtual Agent and receiving responses to knowledge articles. And on the right-hand side here is Diego. He's my agent and admin that will be helping us set up the knowledge base as well as working through some of the setup options here. Now, when you install Tikit, and when an end user asks a question in Tikit Virtual Agent, Tikit Virtual Agent is going to respond with one or multiple responses based upon the question being asked, if there is a knowledge base setup. Now, I'm going to highlight a couple of examples and tie them visually back to the knowledge base so you understand what's happening here. So on the right-hand side here, Diego has set up a lot of knowledge articles. Those articles are just regular articles which have questions and answers to those questions. Also a bunch of articles that have templates, and those templates are asking end users to fill out forms to kick off a business process. So I need Adobe Photoshop, or I need to hire an employee, and presenting them with a form to submit to a respective team. On the left-hand side here is Adele's interaction with that knowledge base, specifically within Tikit Virtual Agent. And you'll see here that when Adele asks a question, and we'll go ahead and ask Tikit Virtual Agent for the vacation policy, what you're going to see here is Tikit Virtual Agent is going to search our knowledge engine. And if we have a solution for the problem or an answer to a question, we are going to provide that. Now, in this specific example, we asked, what is the vacation policy? Now, I just realized I misspelled that, which is fine because this is driven by Microsoft AI Cognitive Services. You can misspell things. It's pretty intelligent, understands the intention of what's being asked. But either way, we asked for what the vacation policy is. And what happened there is we searched our knowledge base, which is on the right-hand side here. I'm going to bring back the word vacation. And what you'll see on Diego's side is there's two reference points. There is a knowledge base article as well as a PTO request form. Now, we asked for what is the vacation policy, and what you'll see here is that there's a phrase in the language model for that knowledge base response that says, what is the vacation policy? Now, that tells our system that there's a very high confidence that this is the article that Adele needs to reference how to access the vacation policy. And specifically in this one, we're pointing her to the HR Employee Handbook, which highlights our vacation policy. Now, if Adele were just to come in here and say vacation policy, and spell it correctly this time, same thing will happen. We know with very high confidence that that knowledge base article is the one that she really wants. So we are going to provide her with the HR Employee Handbook to help her gain access to the visibility of the vacation policy. Now, if the end user is asking a very specific question, we can pretty much determine with high confidence which knowledge base article to respond with. What happens if the end user asks a question that's more vague, which is going to happen all the time? So Adele here is having issues logging into something, and she's having a difficult time articulating what that is. So she's going to ask Tikit Virtual Agent, how do I log into the portal? Now, what happens here is Tikit Virtual Agent will search our knowledge engine, and it's going to try to determine if there's one knowledge article that really answers her question. And if there is, we would have responded with that. But in this case, what you're seeing here is a response with three different knowledge articles. Two of them are actual knowledge base articles, which are questions and answers. These are the first two. And the last one is the template / form to log an application login issue. Now, what I want to do on the right-hand side is I want to show you these articles. So I'm going to type in log into. And what you're going to see here is that the phrases being used here have some similarity. And what's happened here is Tikit Virtual Agent didn't have a high enough confidence score to determine which specific knowledge article needed to be sent back. So what it did is it responded with these three specific articles. A couple of things I want to highlight around what you're seeing here. The first is this is stack ranked, meaning the highest confidence options that we see here are going to be at the top, and then the less confident below that, and the less confident below that. So when we searched our knowledge engine, we believe that all three could potentially answer this question. However, the most aligned response was this first knowledge article. The second one was the Wi-Fi password one, and the third one was the form one. Now, a couple other things I want to highlight here. What you're seeing with the knowledge base articles is a preview of the entire article. Now, these articles are pretty short in answers because they're pretty simple responses here. But if you had a very large knowledge article, we'll truncate the article and only show a summary of the response. So something to be aware of when you're setting this up. The second thing I want to highlight, which is going to dive us into a little bit of the more setup and configuration, is that you'll notice here that this template and form application login issues has a summary here. However, if I go click on this knowledge article on the admin side, you'll notice here that I don't have a summary option. And what's happening here is that for a template or form, when we fill it out, this knowledge article, excuse me, and we assign it to that template, we are grabbing the description of that template to surface it as the summary of what's being presented in this multi-response experience. So if I were to just quickly travel over to the settings area here, and I go over to templates, and I search for my application login template, what you'll see here is I have a summary, and that summary is being directly mapped to the summary that's being provided over here. Let me jump back to knowledge so I can play with that a little bit more here. Now, a couple other things I want to highlight here is that when you click on a response in this multi-response experience, there's an interaction here. Well, actually, let me highlight this first. So you're seeing we're providing these three options. If none of these options is the right one still, we're letting the user click on no create a ticket to just go ahead and create a ticket. So we're providing them an out because none of these potentially provided the answer. So we're going to let them still create a ticket and respect all the ticket creation experience that you would have when creating a ticket within Tikit Virtual Agent. Now, if the end user were to select one of these options, what you'll see here is there's a response being sent back. So this one, the phrase here, log into the Tikit end user portal, was sent back. And let me actually bring back these knowledge articles on the right-hand side here. If I click on the Wi-Fi one, what is the Wi-Fi password is brought back. If I click on application login issues, I can't log into SAP is brought back. And what's happening here is that each one of these articles has a set of phrases. And what we're doing is we are providing, this is actually a Teams phrase, it's called a message back. We're providing a message back to the end user for them to know that this article that they just clicked on to bring back, if you want to access it in the future, you can simply type something along the lines of this to specifically bring back that particular request. that phrase, that message back that's being brought back for each respective item, is the first phrase of the knowledge article that you set up. So there's a nuance there that we want to make sure you're aware of. So when you're setting these up, you understand the implication of what you're setting up in terms of the context of the phrases, and then how things are surfaced within the actual multi-response experience. So that's a little bit of the experience itself and how things kind of map back to the actual knowledge base. I now want to go over to bot configuration as an admin and agent to work through how you can further tune this experience. So we'll bring this over here and we'll go over to settings and go to bot configuration. So in bot configuration, there is a few options here. And once here, if you scroll down to the virtual agent area, and specifically the KB responses and threshold area, you'll have all the options that influence the end user's interaction with receiving knowledge-based responses and multiple responses. And we'll go through each one of these now. So the first option is ticket deflection score threshold. And this is a percentage, and this percentage directly influences how we interact with Microsoft AI Cognitive Services. And what's happening here is this percentage is telling AI Cognitive Services that when an end user types a phrase, a question or a comment in Tikit Virtual Agent, how accurate-ish should that phrase match to the knowledge-based response phrases that determine what's brought back. Now, at first glance, 15% may seem low. However, this is kind of a sweet spot that we found in analyzing how our customers and end users are asking questions and how to influence the appropriate confidence score to bring back responses that align with what our end users are asking. Now, if you wanted to tune this, let me give an example of how and why you may want to tune this. So in the experience that we saw in the first part of this setup series video, we had the vacation policy example. And I typed what is a vacation policy as the first example, and then the second example was just vacation policy. Now, both of those questions, comments brought back the HR employee handbook for reviewing the vacation policy. And that was a reflection of this 15% score threshold. Now, let's just say that I wanted whatever the end user types to be more accurately aligned with the phrases for that employee handbook knowledge base article. I would then move this slider to the right and further add percentage points to influence that. So as I'm moving this up, eventually, if I were just to type vacation policy, it would not bring back that knowledge base article because I'm telling this particular setting that I want that phrase to be much closer in accuracy to what was there. And the phrase that was in that knowledge base article was, what is the vacation policy? So you may want that in your business. There may be reasons for you to be more command driven and you want more accuracy in what someone types and what it brings back. We recommend 15% by default, which is what I'll leave it here as, but that may be a reason why you want to tune this particular setting. The next section is number of responses to return. So in the second experience that you saw in the setup series or in this particular video, you saw when I typed, how do I log into the portal? We returned 3 responses. 2 were knowledge articles and 1 was a template/form to fill out. And what's governing that is this particular setting. So if I had 7 articles that had log into something there, and Tikit Virtual Agent would come back with 7, but because I've capped at 5, we would only show the top 5 results. If I wanted to show all 7, I would want to slide this up to the right to the max of 10. We just defaulted to 5 because we felt like that was the right number, but your business is going to be different case by case, and you can tune that up and down. The second option here works in tandem with the number of responses to return. So we have this on by default, and it reads as, when the most confident response is greater than the following number, only return it instead of multiple responses. So what that means is, when I typed, how do I log into the portal? We searched the knowledge base, and we found 3 potential articles that align to what the end user was asking. None of those articles had a 95% accuracy. And because none of them had a 95% accuracy, we returned all 3. Now, if I type something and returned 3, but one of those was 95% sure, confidence-wise, that that's the right one, we're going to send back only that one article. And the idea here is that if when end users are typing things in and you have a lot of knowledge articles, you may be constantly getting, in the background at least, multiple responses, but you're telling the system that if whatever is brought back, one of those is 95% accurate, only bring back that one. And it just kind of streamlines the overall end user experience. Now, if you were to tune this down to say 85%, you're further giving an opportunity for an article that is 85% confident or accurate in terms of the phrases being matched to be responded to. And you're giving it more of an opportunity to respond. We felt 95% was the right number because in our evaluation of how the thresholds work, this is a pretty high confidence that whatever they typed is what they wanted back out of that array of responses. But you have the option to tune that up and down here. And again, that works in tandem with number of responses to return. There's just a few more options here that I want to highlight. So the first is the multiple response message, and the second is create ticket message. These both effectively do the same thing. When we send back the multiple responses, there's a message at the top. This is the default message. You can edit that if you want to change the words that are being communicated here. And then when you create a ticket from Tikit Virtual Agent, these are the default words that we use, the default message, and you can change that as well. We give you the opportunity to do that because your culture may be different, have a different expectation that you're communicating to your end users, and you can choose these words at very critical pivots where end users are interpreting things that are coming back to them and reading multiple responses to messages and or creating a ticket in some of those experiences there. This is where we're going to stop this session. Really hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please email team@tikit.ai.